Today on Sherry the Chef, I'm going to show you that making a pumpkin-shaped cake is easier than you might think, using a Bundt pan, a store-bought cake, and some store-bought icing. So meet me in the kitchen. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. You know, nothing says fall quite like pumpkins and nothing says a party quite like cake. So today I'm going to show you an easy way to make a pumpkin cake that's going to be great for any party you have coming up this fall. And it's not just great for any party this fall or Halloween, it's also going to be great for Thanksgiving because not everybody likes pumpkin pie. I mean, some people like pumpkin cake. Some people like both. So I'm going to show you an easy way to do this using a store-bought cake. So this one I got from Aldi's, and if I'm being honest, I actually thought this was a pumpkin cake, but it's a pound cake. And I'm grateful that it is a pound cake because anytime I've used a Bundt pan, I have found that a pound cake or a cake that's really dense really holds its shape better. So when I go to turn it out, it comes out like in one piece instead of little pieces stuck all over the inside of the pan with a regular cake mix. So I'm glad it is a pound cake, but it doesn't have any pumpkin flavoring. So I've got a little pumpkin pie spice I'm going to add to that. But I also do want to go ahead and spray my pan really, really well. And then this particular cake calls for 3/4 cup milk and 2 eggs. So I've already got my 2 eggs added to the bowl. I'm just going to dump my cake mix right in here. And we're going to add our 3/4 cup milk. And I got about 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. So I'm being lazy today. I could get out the stand mixer. I could get out the hand mixer. Actually, I don't have the hand mixer anymore. I think I gave that away when I got my KitchenAid. I thought I didn't need it anymore. But I have found that sometimes I don't feel like dagging out. Sometimes I don't feel like digging out the big stand mixer, and a hand mixer will probably come in handy because this is really going to wear out my arm. But you know, that's okay because if I give my arms a really good workout, then I don't feel so guilty about not going to the gym this morning. And I never really like to overbeat a cake anyway, so I typically will do my cakes with a whisk. Now, this Bundt pan particularly is a little bit smaller than the average size, so if you're going to use a regular size Bundt pan, you might want to use 2 pound cake mixes. I'm going to divide this in 2, and then if you want to do some mini ones, you could probably just use 1 cake mix as well and just divide it up. But this is like a kind of like a mid-size, like a medium size, I guess. So I want to use about half of this, and then we're going to save the other half for the top part of our pumpkin. I think that looks about like half. I could be off just a little bit, but that's okay because you know what? Whoops. Pumpkins are made by nature, right? And it's never perfect. So if the top's a little bit bigger than the bottom, it'll be okay, I think. Hopefully this doesn't stick to the side there. There we go. All right, so I also haven't baked in this before, so I'm not quite sure how long to bake it for. I'm just going to put it in the oven. I've got the oven on 325, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it, so I'll let you know in a little bit how long it takes. And when I get this done, I'm going to let it cool. I'm going to pop it out, and then I'm going to repeat the process with the other half of the batter. So when I get both of those done and cooled, we will get busy on icing our pumpkin. Okay, I've got both of my cakes. They are done baking and I've got them in the freezer to cool just a little bit more. I forgot to mention, whenever you take your cake out of the oven, you want to let it cool for about 10 minutes before you flip it upside down, and that'll help that cake come out of there just a little bit easier. So while those are chilling just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 containers of store-bought frosting. Again, I wanted to try to make this as easy as possible today. And we're just going to color this with some gel food coloring. And if the frosting is really, really stiff, you can microwave it a little bit and it'll make it a little bit easier. And we may only need 1 can of frosting, but to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 cans in here because I don't want to get to the end of 1 can after I've mixed in my food coloring and realize I don't have enough, and then I have to mix up another can, and then my oranges, you know, the color doesn't quite match. So I want to do it all at once and make sure that I have enough frosting to start with. I have to make sure I get every little last bit out of here with a rubber spatula, or my mother will have a fit. It drives her crazy if I get something out of a bowl and I don't use a spatula and there's some left in there. So we make sure we use the spatula. Okay, so a little bit of, now I am using gel food coloring. You can use paste Or you can probably use the liquid. I don't know. I prefer to use the gel because I feel like the liquid kind of changes the consistency and the texture sometimes. Boy, isn't that a pretty orange? That's beautiful. Make sure that I get all the way down to the bottom so that I don't have any white spots in my frosting there. Make sure this is all one solid color. And I think that looks pretty darn good. So I'm going to grab my cakes. I've got 1 and 2. So I just put these on some parchment paper. And one thing I want to do is, this one's not quite as cool as the other one, so that's okay. I'm going to flip these over to where the bottom part is on top. And then I'm going to use a serrated knife. And I'm going to level these off just so they sit kind of flush. And I don't have to fill in that gap in the middle with a bunch of frosting. And then, of course, we can eat this part if we want. I'm just going to set it aside, though. And then we'll get this one. Yes, this one's much cooler than that one, but that's okay. There we go. Almost. Okay. This one's still not quite level, is it? I think it'll be all right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I think we're going to start with, let's move this out of the way. And I'm going to flip this upside down like this. And I'm going to start to add some of this frosting here to the bottom part of our cake. I'm going to grab my offset spatula and kind of smooth this out just a little bit. I just want to get some on the bottom of the cake so that when I flip it over, it's not so hard to ice. That some of this frosting's already on the bottom of here, if that makes sense. Maybe just a little bit more on this side. And I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little cake here and I'm going to get rid of my crumbs. Whoops. There we go. I want to kind of keep it on the parchment, and I think it'll kind of help from sticking. So I'm just going to flip this over onto here really carefully, just like that. There we go. Then I'm going to add a little bit of frosting to the center. And this will help our 2 layers stick together. I want to do this really gently so I don't get a bunch of crumbs that will transfer like to the outside of my pumpkin. Maybe a little more. All right, now we're going to take this part of our pumpkin, flip it on top. Just want to make sure it's kind of even all the way around. And then what I decided to do was, so that I don't have to fill this entire center with a bunch of frosting, is we're going to set one of these cups down in here. So this is just like a little, kind of like a little Dixie cup. And I'm going to set this one down. See if I can get it all the way down in there. We'll use our scissors and push it. There we go. And this will help hold the shape also. And then I'm going to put this one down right on top. And let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that we have that, we are going to finish frosting our pumpkin here. So see, I'm glad that I added the frosting on the bottom before I flipped that over, because otherwise it would be really hard to get underneath it there. So we're just going to keep adding frosting and going all the way around our cake. Try and make sure it's even there. It's slowly getting there. Okay, so I'm going to start working my way up. And this will help start to give us some of those like little grooves that are in the pumpkin. All right, I'm just gonna smooth out the top a little bit here. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is take another one of these little cups. I'm gonna bend it just a little bit, and we are going to scoop out some of this icing. So we're gonna kind of make those indentions that you would see in a pumpkin. And that is that. So for right now, I'm going to transfer this to the freezer and we're going to let this chill just a little bit, maybe about 20 minutes or so. All right, so my cake is pretty well chilled. The next thing you want to do is make sure you wash your hands really well. We're going to grab a little bit of water and we are just going to start kind of smoothing this out with our fingers. Just kind of working our way all the way around the pumpkin. And I'm guessing if you're really skilled with fondant, you could probably just wrap this pumpkin in fondant and it might be a little easier. But I have tried my hand at that and I am just not the best. So I have found this is just a little bit easier way to do it. And if the icing starts to get a little soft before you get finished, you can always stick this back in the freezer for a few minutes and then pull it out and start again. And I'm just making sure I'm smoothing it all the way up to the top here. Kind of smooth out the top of the pumpkin. Now I'm just kind of going around the bottom of the pumpkin and pushing some of that icing in so it's not, so it still looks round on the bottom. And I think that is pretty darn good. Okay. Okay, so I had a bit of a technical difficulty again, but the only thing y'all missed was I got it transferred onto my display plate or what have you here, and then I needed a stem for the top of my pumpkin. So you could use a real stem from a pumpkin. You could use some icing and pipe a stem on here. I decided to use one from a green pepper because I had it on hand and I thought it would make it super easy, so I just cut away that part, left my stem and stuck it in the top of my pumpkin. And it's not super realistic, but I think it looks pretty much like a pumpkin and I think it's super fun, super cute, and it was pretty affordable and it was super easy. So I hope you guys give this a try. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have some leftover icing, hang on to it. I have another video coming up just to show you guys a couple of really cute things you can do for like breakfast on Halloween. So be looking for that. And I thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.